Hello, YouTube. Wow, how are you guys? Welcome, 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 welcome. I have messages going off on my phone. I think that's just YouTube notifying me that I'm live. How are you guys doing on this beautiful, peaceful, relaxing Saturn day on this beautiful Shabbat? How are you guys doing? Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm going to go ahead and set my timer because I'm not going to be before you too long. And I have something in the oven, but I wanted to come on in here and say hi. This video is going to be about kind of a follow-up to the video I did before about tracing my ancestry and all of that good stuff. I have some sativa on deck, so I do have time to share a bowl with you guys while I go through the story. I have my coffee here that I've been drinking on all day. And yeah, so again, I hope you guys are having a fantastic Saturday. I mean, I know I am. I have been meditating and drinking smoothies and having butterflies. I had a butterfly land on my toe. I got this nasty sativa. Nasty. And today I'm smoking on, I have a little bit of this left, you guys. Just a little bit. So good. But never fear, there's more. But anyway, this is Blue Dream. I love this sativa because it's super sativa-y to me, but then it also has a good balance of some indica in there. So it doesn't take you way over the moon, but it has a nice sativa taste to it. So, but anyway, you guys, a long time ago, long time ago, I was in school, and at the time I was in the doctoral program, and I didn't want to do my homework. Okay, so this is the story. This is how it all happened. I didn't want to do my homework. I wanted to take a break from doing my homework. I was tired. I was like, you know what? Because you guys know when you're in school, I mean, you're constantly doing homework. And I went to school online for the doctoral program. And so I felt like I was just glued to my computer and always working. And I said, you know what? I want to take a break from this. So, you know how you go online and you start looking up something else because, you know, you want to be distracted from what you're doing. I wanted to be distracted for what I was doing at the time, which was homework. So I, started fooling around online, and I'm like, you know what? It just fell on me to start researching my ancestors. And I was like, yeah, I don't really know, a lot of history about my family. I mean, I've heard rumors and this, that, and the other thing, but I really don't know beyond, just a few individuals. Like I wanted to go deep into my roots and explore that. But anyway, so all of a sudden it just hit me to do this. And like I said, this came as, again, me wanting to just shift my brain, shift my focus, shift my energy from what I was doing, which at the time, I'm sure I was doing homework. And I just wanted to take a break. So when I took a break, I decided, hey, why not research my background, research my family? And I feel like, that must have been something that was just in my spirit to do. And this happened, this started way back in probably 2007. A lot of things happened for me in 2007. And so it was a very significant point in my life. But anyway, 2007, yeah, that's about my time where my Saturn was returning, Saturn returned. But anyway, so I went on ancestry.com because that was the popular site at the time, and it still is, of course. You guys are probably already familiar. I mean, if you've done any type of research or if you've looked into studying your background or whatever, you've ran across ancestry.com because they're one of the key players, in this, in doing research and studying your family history. Hold on, I got to turn my heater. turn it down so I don't burn up. But anyway, so I go on ancestry.com and I sign up for an account. It was so exciting, you guys, like so exciting. And when I signed up for the account, I immediately started putting together this family tree. And I started with the limited information I had, and then one thing led to another. So then I started talking to some of my family members and just hearing the stories from the older aunts of mine and just trying to like piece things together. And then one thing led to another. Like I said, I started doing more research, and then I ended up finding cousins in other states. So that really opened things up. Once I found cousins in other states, they were able to confirm some of the information that I got, that I found on ancestry.com. Because you guys are familiar, like if you go on ancestry.com and you start filling in your family tree, it will give you hints and different things like that. And what I mean by hints, like it may pull up information from another tree that may be applicable for your tree, or it may pull up information that's applicable to the persons that you put in the system. And then basically it gives you a place to do more research from. So that's why I like one reason why I like ancestry.com. There's a few reasons. Hold on, I gotta blow my nose. This happens when I go live. Why is that? Oh goodness. Anyway, so so I start talking to relatives and this, that, and the other thing, and I start populating my tree, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, I got to a point where, I was stuck. And really, I was stuck on a person by the name of Bessie Comier. Now, mind you, I heard about Bessie Comier. I mean, I heard about Bessie, but that's my great grandmother. But I didn't know anything about her. And for some reason, her last name of Comier just really got my attention, because that last name right there wasn't a last name that I had heard before in my family. No one shared that last name with me. And I thought it was pretty unique. I'm like, Comier, well, what is that? So anyway, what I'm saying is, when I started doing my research, I found a particular family member to focus on in the times that I got stuck. Okay. And so I just glued and I just like put my scope on Bessie Comier. And Bessie Comier was like the springboard that led me to find my native ancestry, which I did not know this at the time. I just had this unique last name of Comier. So I started researching, and this happened over a period of years, you guys. Like seriously, I started this project in 2007. So let's just see. I'm going to go to my ancestry.com site, and then I'm going to go into my account. Let's see, family trees. I just want to see how many. There's a place where it shows you how many people are on your family tree. I have to look. Hundreds of people are on my family tree. This is what I know. And I didn't start off like that. I started off, like I said, only having limited information. So, and between 2007 and 2019, lots have happened. I have gone to family reunions and all of that. I have found family members on Facebook, of course. I've connected with them. I received this book. I don't know why I didn't bring this book out. I have to go get it. Man, you guys, let me go get this book. I'll be right back. All right. So during my research, I came across this book. And this book was sent to me by a cousin that I found on Facebook. And it says, Queen Bey, Immigrants and Their New World Descendants. And I was like, what? Wait a minute, what? So let me just rewind. So again, I started back in 2007 doing this research and just thinking, okay, I'm just going to research my family. I want to find out, you know, everyone wants to find out who their family is, right? Like their origin and where they've come from and all this other stuff like that. Now, excuse the noise in the background. The kids are outside playing in the neighborhood, so they get loud, you guys. But anyway, so I just wanted to find this history. I just wanted to know, like I grew up, you know, eating gumbo and rice dressing and all that good stuff like that. And I grew up in Wisconsin, and my grandmother, she carried a lot of Creole traditions. You know, now my grandparents, you know, they come from Texas. A lot of my relatives come out of Louisiana and in Texas. So specifically places like, gosh, I have relatives all over. What's that one place? It's this small little, it'll come to me. But anyway, so a lot of my relatives are in Texas, went to family reunions in Texas, had a good time, met some of my family members on Facebook. Prior to getting this book, okay, like I prayed, and this prayer, I think I did like a couple years ago, actually. I prayed and I asked the universe and I asked my ancestors who I knew were of Native origin. However, I didn't have any sound evidence or anything like that. I asked them to reveal themselves to me. I asked them to basically show me who they were. And once I prayed that prayer, I mean, I didn't think anything of it. I believed that my ancestors heard it. I believed that the universe heard it. And I just continued on with my research. Fast forward, before that year closed, I received this book from my cousin. This book is what opened the door even more for me exploring my ancestry. And again, I'm always, keep in mind, I'm going to ancestry.com over the years. You know, I'm populating information as I find out information, et cetera, et cetera. Even though Bessie Comier, my great grandmother, was my primary focus, you know, if I did run across clues that led me to other ancestors, I would definitely populate that information on my family tree. Or if my relatives, you know, gave me additional information, I put that information on my family tree. So I just kept building my tree. I wasn't sure if all of the information was correct at this point, but I was sure that a lot of it was correct because I was verifying it as I went along. So at some point I did hire a genealogist, and you guys heard me talk about that in the first video I did about exploring my genes and all that good stuff, exploring my DNA. When I did the testing with ancestry.com, I told you I was going to hire a genealogist, et cetera, et cetera. I did hire a genealogist through Legacy, and it sucks. It just sucked. It sucked. I had a terrible experience with them. I do not recommend them. They did give me my money back, which was fantastic, but I felt like I got more results basically by doing the research on my own, even though, you know, like I said, this project started back in 2007. But anyway, I got to give you all this information so that you know where I'm coming from. Okay. So anyway, my cousin sends me this book. And I start going through this book because I'm like, okay, well, this is interesting. And the only thing I'm looking for, like, I'm like, okay, now this is an interesting book to receive. And then I run across something that says Robert Comier. Robert Comier. And I'm like, okay, Robert Comier, like that's like, he's like the father of Comiers. But I didn't know this. But I figured that because his name is like listed first in this book. And then it said, hold on, maybe I can find it. See if I can find it. Because this is interesting, you guys. Of course I can find it because I put it where I needed to put it. Okay, so here. It says your Comier namesakes from the early immigrants to present day. Okay. Now, mind you, okay, no one told me any of this. No one shared any of this information. This is where it gets good, you guys. This is where it gets real juicy. And it says right here, Robert arrived in Canada in 1964. And again, we're talking about Robert Comier. So I decide, I'm like, okay, wait a minute. First of all, how come a possible relative of mine is listed in a book somewhere? Because this is a reference. Okay, it says page 000364. So this is a reference. And I'm like, okay. And then I'm reading further on. And it says Francis, age 36, arrived in Saint Perrier in 1767. And I'm like, okay, what is this about? So I decide to Google Robert Comier, of course. And the moment I Google Robert Comier, it pulls up, like, you know, pictures of people who appear they're European. And I'm like, okay, all right. Now I knew, first of all, I knew that, you know, I'm Creole and Cajun, and I know what that consists of. But for some reason, it just didn't hit me upside the head that Comier was obviously, it's a French name. And so obviously the people that, you know, this comes from would be European or the French side of my Creole blood. And Bessie Comier, my great grandmother, is the connection. So I'm like, okay. But again, I'm still doing my research and I'm just like, wow, this is so fascinating. So the more I start exploring Comier, the last name Comier, and then I research Robert Comier, I find out, and then of course, again, I'm on Facebook on doing all sorts of research. I find out that he's Acadian. And I'm like, Acadian? Well, what does that mean? So I do my research and I find out that there's a rich history, a rich Acadian history that my family is a part of. And basically, Acadians are French people, or a group of French people who consist of Comiers, Brouchards, these are the last names, Brouchards, and I can't remember the other groups, who came from France and they migrated to Canada. And the reason why they left France is because basically they wanted to practice their religion and they were very Catholic at the time. So anyway, and at the time, I think in France, Protestant was taking over. So my ancestors went from France to Canada and they went to Acadie, a place called Acadie, Canada. And I don't know, like they called it Acadie. And this is way before like Christopher Columbus and all of this jazz. Like this is a long time ago. So anyway, they're in Canada and they connect with these Native Americans called the Mi'kmaq. And the Mi'kmaq, of course, the Mi'kmaq teach them about the land and this, that, and the other thing. And they become really good at working with this land where they were. And so the British ultimately came in and they exported my ancestors out of Acadie, and they actually ended up, my ancestors, they were put on boats. They were put on the slave ships, like prior to slavery, and they went to they ended up in Louisiana. That's how. So French people, so you have these French people on these boats, and a lot of them, you know, didn't survive. It was really tragic. And there's a lot of history online that you can find about Acadian. It's just a very rich history. One of the largest genocides, European genocides experienced. You might want to look this up. It was really interesting to me anyway. And probably because I'm related and I am Acadian, but nevertheless. So my ancestors, they get to Louisiana, and this happened, gosh, sometime in the 1700s, like early. And they connect with a Creole farmer. And that's where this chocolate goodness comes from. So they connect with a Creole farmer, and because they were farmers, like that's what they did, that's what their specialty was, and all that jazz. They were like, you know, lovers of the land, very much so connected to the land. Again, because of that native background, just because of the type of people that they were, even, you know, when they were living in France. But long story short, they connect with the native farm, or with the Creole farmer, and they move over to, and he's connected to, gosh, where is this? It's a section where the Attakapas Native Americans live, which I think, I don't know if they were near Opelousas or whatever, Opelousas, Louisiana. That sounds so country, doesn't it? But anyway, I love it. I love it. I love it. So the French people connect with the Creole, and they get together, and one thing leads to another. And the next thing you know, my ancestors, of course, they got together with the Attakapas Native Americans as well. And yeah, so I thought it was fascinating just to get that information. And all that came from me exploring my roots over time. Now, how do I know that I'm connected to the Attakapas Native American tribe? Okay, so because when I did my research and I traced it, I was able to connect my lineage directly from my great grandmother, who is Bessie Comier. Now, let me show you Bessie Comier. And in the last video, and if you haven't watched the last video, you want to watch the last video, child, that talks about, where I talk about all this, you know, I said that I did a DNA test and all that. Like I did a genealogy DNA kit test through ancestry.com. And it really confirmed a lot of my research. Like it saw the native roots, and it saw the, you know, the Louisiana Creole connection. And by the way, the word Acadian, or the word Cajun, excuse me, is from the word Acadian. So Cajun actually was a derogatory term that they called my ancestors, but their name, they were Acadian, but they called them Cajun. So that's what the word Cajun comes from. And also, if it wasn't for the French and and the Native American people and all of that, you wouldn't have like gumbo. you wouldn't have, you know, the roux. The roux comes from France, and then the thickener that we use, the filet, that's saffron, and that's very much so Native American. And it's interesting how you know, the evidence of your ancestry and the connection to your ancestors is all around you, but sometimes you may not know the specifics. And that's why it's important to search and to do your own research when it comes to exploring your bloodline. It's very important. You know, don't just assume that, you know your family history. Actually do the research and study it. Okay. But anyway, I want to show you a picture of my great grandmother, Bessie Comier. And I traced my ancestry. I traced Bessie's line all the way back to the 1500s. Here she is. Let's see if I can make her bigger. Let's see here. Yeah. Okay. Bessie Comier. Ooh. Isn't she lovely? So anyway, Bessie Comier is directly related to Robert Comier, same Robert Comier, found in this book, Who is Acadian? Fantastic information. So after I found out that I was Acadian, I wanted to find out what tribe I belonged to, or what tribe my ancestors have a direct connection to. And I didn't know at the time that it was Attakapas. But I had a lot of tribes to pick from. I think at the time, during the time that my ancestors were exported from Canada, at the time, and to Louisiana, at the time, I think there were about 12, probably way more than 12, but there's at least 12 known native tribes populating Louisiana at that time. And I'm pretty sure there was a lot more than 12. But the bottom line is, when I did my research, it just basically showed me these 12 that were popular, I guess, and probably well known. But anyway, I'm like, well, which one of these do I belong to? It's my timer, you guys. So I'm thinking, well, which one of these do I belong to? I started doing my research more, and I found out that it was the Attakapaw. Now, how did I find out that it was the Attakapaw? Well, because the Attakapaw are connected to Opelousas. I'm connected to Opelousas. My family's connected to Opelousas. My family still has. I have a deed that belongs to my great grandfather that has land that's connected to Opelousas. I mean, it's just seriously. So I do my research. I continue to study and all this other stuff. And I run across this lady by the last name of Amy Comier. And Amy Comier was basically the missing puzzle piece. Okay, let me show you. Well, this is her book, Amy Comier's book. And it says Attakapaw Opelousas Prairie Tribe, A New Beginning. And as you can see, her last name is Comier, and my great grandmother, her last name is Comier. And Amy Comier wrote this book specifically to document the rich culture of the Attakapaw Opelousas Native American tribe that have been here since forever. But anyway, this book is, and this right here, when I came across this information, first of all, online before I purchased it, they have a website and all that good stuff. It just really opened the door to some amazing discoveries. I mean, my ancestors were already communicating with me in the spirit world, already giving me signs, already showing me what their native tongue were, already giving me like the beats that they vibe to, all of that. But to see this and to actually make the connection with, being able to say, I know for a fact that I'm part of the Attakapaw is huge for me. It's huge for me. So when I started reading, I'm just going to show you some cool things in here. Cool things I found interesting anyway. See, so here's Amy. Okay. You must be having a good time over there, honey. And I'm going to show you. There's Amy again. Okay. And what's interesting about all this is that some things that my ancestors do, I've always done, like just naturally, like with the whole Shaws and all this good stuff. I mean, apparently they're into Shaws. You see, they still gather together in Opelousas. So I'll show you what else I want to show you in here. They still spread information about their legacy. Here they are right here. Let's see. Here's one of those Shaws I was telling you about. Now, you see the last name Bouchard. Bouchard is an Acadian last name. Okay, Bouchards. Now, what's interesting about Bouchards, my family is connected to Bouchards. And again, that's an Acadian name. And that brings me to this point right here. And I think this is probably going to be my final point. Hold on, let me get to it. Beyonce. Okay, so Beyonce is very much so a Creole woman. And she is very much so Acadian. And you see the last name Bouchard. I'm going to show you again, Bouchard. And this is a relative of mine. Okay, this is Bessie Comier, Bessie Comier's mom. Okay. And then Beyonce. Let me show you this. It says here, if you Google this is common information, but Beyonce is a descendant of Joseph Broussard, who it says here was the leader of the Acadians during the French and Indian War. Okay. I don't know if you can see that. Here you go. You can see it. You might not know this, but there's Beyonce and her mom. So anyway, so there is a connection with myself and Beyonce, meaning that we are related because we are Acadian. And I think that's fantastic. And so anyway, I wanted to tell you guys that I wanted to share my little quick story with you guys, not be before you long, but seriously, you want to explore your background. You want to explore your ancestry. You want to know your roots. You want to dig deep. You want to, know the traditions of your ancestors. Some of them you may decide to carry on. Like, I know I'm also connected to the Humas Native Americans and also the Micmac. And the Humas Native Americans back in the day, and I'm not sure if they still do, perhaps they still do, but they believed that you could be healed by using natural remedies. And they believed in that the moon could actually assist in your healing. And it's funny because these are things that I also believe in, and these are practices that I naturally have because it's in my bloodline. But anyway, and then, it's fascinating to know that I'm related to Beyonce, because who wouldn't want to be related to Queen Bey? Okay? Anyway, you guys, explore your history, explore your roots. Know that you can go deep. Sometimes you may get stuck. That's all right. Just find an ancestor to focus on and research the heck out of that ancestor until you get a breakthrough. I love you all so, so much. Remember to explore your roots. Dig deep. The deeper you go, oh my gosh, the better it is. You are more than just, what people say you are. Okay. Don't just take what people say you are and that's it. That's not it. You owe it to yourself to get to know your bloodline. I love you guys. See you next time. Bye.